Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Yeah, we got all three.
How about moin?
Moin.
Moin. That
In Hamburg, at least, that part of Germany, moin means many things.
but it's basically good day, good morning, good evening, moin. Welcome to being here. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shaya.
We do finish each other's sentences. Sometimes we simul-speak.
That is true.
Not going anywhere today.
Right. Maybe you should just live,
Maybe.
rather than tell yourself what you're supposed to do.
That sounds so lovely and relaxing.
Do you have a voice in there that tells you what to do all the time?
Yes, and sometimes it tells you what to do.
Oh, very frequently.
When you have the voice in your head goes on external speaker, and it not only bosses you around, it bosses the people around you around, in particular, anybody you're in relationship with.
I think you just covered everything.
I did.
Okay. A little bit about listening.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Most of us don't listen.
Don't you hate him when he says that? You're not listening. He said that. He said that last week. He said that the week before.
You're preoccupied with your thoughts. And to truly listen, you have to suspend that judgmental nature, that desire to be right, and
that forward momentum.
And that forward momentum. And actually listen to another. So we're going to present some things here today that you may not already know. And if we do, you may say, oh, I've heard this before. And that means you're not listening. See, listening is not commenting on what's being said. It's allowing it to come into you. It's allowing it to come past your system of judgments, the filters you use to keep those unwanted things in life away, and actually hear what another person has to say. Interesting thing about that, it will pull you into the current moment of your life if you listen.
Do you have any idea how many times I have sat next to Shaya while he's introduced the idea of listening? And you can say you've heard it before, but it's never, ever true. If I'm really listening, as he's talking about listening, for instance, it's an opportunity for me to center myself. If I'm preoccupied, if I'm anticipating what he has to say, or if I'm lost in a side conversation with myself or preparing the next thing that I might want to say. It's all informational. This is a transformational approach. In change, you live by and through the rules and ideas that you've been enculturated with, or you're resisting from your culture. And transformation, simple awareness is enough.
Non-judgmental seeing, that's what awareness is enough to transform your life.
And guess what? It happens through living. It happens as you live your life. Let's take our first guest.
Okay.
All right. Christina, welcome to being here. Will you tell people where you're zooming in from?
Hello, this is Christina. I'm zooming in from Berlin in Germany.
This is one of those moments where I'm a little sorry that we're not releasing the video version along with the audio, because you look so beautiful today.
Thank you.
Which you may not have heard when we first came on, as we were connecting up. The first thing Shai said is, oh, wow, she looks so great. So.
You. That's lovely to hear.
And you did nothing to have us say that.
Nope.
See, it wasn't, you didn't.
It wasn't a result of anything. It was just being here.
Right. So I would say things are going well in your life.
How are things
just
going?
How you show up here now.
It's wonderful to hear you say that because I was in a conversation with myself before I joined this call on whether I was to say that everything is going well or that things are getting a little bit out of hand because I was feeling both things at the same time.
Well, here's the thing. Life never gives you more than you can handle if you're here for it. But if you're thinking about how to handle it, you might run into problems because your mind can never create what the moment creates.
Say that again.
Your mind can never create the scenario that the moment creates.
Even if you visualize a speech you're going to give or a moment in time, the visualization is never precise. You can only pull from what you already know. So when I'm here listening to Shaya, it's always new, always.
That is so good to hear because it's sort of uplifting and it gives me more energy to handle the next moments or this moment or whatever is coming up. When I was thinking about, or when I was reading the announcement for today's podcast, initially I thought, well, rules, that's not my topic. I'm flexible. I go along with the way things show up, etc., etc. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Didn't I just today feel so bad about postponing an appointment I had made for my volunteering activity at my professional association to take an interpreting assignment, which also came up? Didn't I just feel so bad about it? Isn't that exactly what the announcement of this podcast said? Namely, that these internal rules tell me if I have announced that I will be there for this volunteering event, then I cannot cancel my participation, even when it's perfectly possible, even when I'm not really needed there.
Well, yes, you're not really needed. However, I would be willing to bet you're very much appreciated.
I hope that as well, but I mean, sometimes it might be okay to balance things and to say, well, in times of an economic hard time, it is okay to say, look, there's an interpreting assignment here. I might not be able to join the meeting this time around.
Well,
I found myself debating with these internal rules.
I have a question. What does feeling bad about your choices do for you?
You can see me, probably you can see me think. I'm just saying I'm thinking, so people listening won't be confused by the silence.
Because
I don't know.
you have this opportunity to make some money, which is probably something you could really use and is a good thing. And you got offered a job, and there's this volunteer association you're part of that you planned to go. And you looked, I'm assuming, and saw which was really the most appropriate choice for you. And rather than just say, look, a job came up, I really would love to take this job, I'm not going to be able to be there. Why feel bad?
I imagine that feeling bad sort of reconfirms my world of the universe I used to be living with, these values that I grew up with, like stick to your word, don't announce things that you can't, don't promise something you can't keep.
Okay. Well, that's nice. People that you grew up around, did they ever break their word?
Yes, sure.
Does feeling bad keep you from breaking your word again if you break your word again?
No.
I think-
Actually, it gives you permission to break your word again because you've felt bad, so you punish yourself for having done something that you shouldn't do, but maybe you did exactly what you should do.
It's like putting yourself in jail briefly. I've done a bad thing. I'm going to jail for 3 hours of self-recrimination. Then you've paid your debt, and then it's even, and then you can go out and do it again without looking to see what's appropriate.
I love that. Maybe it can shorten down the
That time?
incrimination time with time.
What if
what if you didn't have to do that at all?
what if you just own your choices?
How about this, Christina? What if you can't do your life wrong?
What?
Oh, so hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine because you've been programmed with a script that the computer in your brain holds as the rules of life or the rules of reality.
And what a good person does.
Oh, yes.
When China lived in Italy at the meditation center above Villa Volpe, which was on Lago Maggiore, which was where we lived, you could walk up the hillside
To
through
the
the woods.
monastery.
And the monastery had been converted into a restaurant. They had chocolate molto densa.
Oh, that's chocolate.
Hot chocolate. It
Hot
was so thick
chocolate.
you could stand your spoon up and it was so good.
Oh, yes.
But on the way there were still the frescoes left over from when the monks were actually there. And there were different stages of penitente. So there was the one where they're wearing their hair shirt. There's the one where they've got the whip and they're flagellating, they're beating their own back. There's the one with the crown of thorns. So as part of a penitente or a early Christian framework,
that you've sinned.
A good person then does things to purge the sin from the soul. And now it's like, my nephew is really, really smart. And when he was 3, his mom used to have him sit on the steps for timeout. And if he done something bad, and then she started finding him on the steps and she'd be like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I stood on the couch with my shoes. I'm giving myself time out. I pulled the cat's tail. I'm giving myself time out. And she said, I don't know what to do. I wanted to reserve that for the really important things, not the minutia of his mind. Well, we all have minutia in our mind and we punish ourselves for that which doesn't need it.
Oh, yes, I can see that.
And
It's so good we're talking about this today.
because it's all in the guise or in the framework of wanting to be a good person.
Oh, yes, I so much want to be a good person.
Well,
More than I thought.
maybe you should be a bad person, whatever that is.
She's like,
Yeah.
what?
Look, it is possible to just do what you want and have it be okay. This morning I went out and I got my little 4-wheel drive vehicle and I went into the woods and I split some firewood and I brought some back to the house and stacked it. That's what I did. I couldn't have done anything else. And you know why? I didn't do anything else. See, if you noticed, your day up until this moment has been very full, yes?
Yes,
And you did what you did.
I did.
Could you not have done what you did?
No.
That's the right answer. Of course not. You could have only done what you did. So why even question it? Why even question that you're doing enough? what we fear a lot is being lazy and not working hard enough. I once worked for a company where there was this thing, you can only do what you do in a day. And so when you leave work, rather than think you should have got more done.
I'm not sure they really meant it, because they'd often call you in the middle of the night, ask you to do more.
This is true, but it wasn't the same people.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was the people not giving themselves a break.
that's right.
I can see that I still keep repeating to myself these things that I should be thinking about myself, like you can only be doing what you're doing and you can't do your life wrong. I mean, it's not as if I hadn't memorized these very, very this very good guidance. It's just that it's not, and sometimes it's also happening for me, but of course there are so many moments in which it's not happening. I'm just thinking about it, but it's not happening.
Well, hold on for a second. See, what is happening, Christina, is what's happening.
Which is, in this case, you're thinking a lot, and you're
It should be
aphorisms
different than it is, but it can't be different than it is. So that's just your mind doing what it does. It's like a radio station. Now you can either get lost listening to that station, or you can have it be like background music.
Mm-hmm.
If the voice says one thing and you look and see what needs to be done, use your eyes to look and see what needs to be done and do that.
Instead of telling myself I should now use my eyes.
Yes.
Or notice you're telling yourself, now you should use your eyes. Like, huh,
Well, look,
I'm talking.
we're driving home and our driveway is on the right when we come from a certain direction. And Ariel will say, you need to make a right turn here.
I don't say that to the driveway. You say that to yourself to the driveway.
Yeah, but well, I come to a stop sign and you tell me to go right when I
I
have to go
have
left.
done that, but that was a different. That's a whole different thing.
That's a different tell me
Because
what.
usually when I'm telling him he needs to make a right, I'm so lost, he actually needs to make a left. That I cop to,
Good.
but I don't recall ever telling you to.
Do you ever tell you to make a right at this driveway?
I don't think so. I'm usually having a different, there it is. It's more of a little forwardy thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I do have a conversation sometimes.
Yeah. But when don't you have a conversation?
When I'm asleep, maybe? No.
They call that dreaming.
Yeah. I think conversation happens all the time.
That's right.
Sometimes it's in
And
the
you can either
background.
get lost in it and think it's you, or you can notice that it goes and it goes. People, we lived at a meditation center for a couple of years, about almost 50 years ago now.
Mhm.
Well, 40,
No, we've been together.
41 years ago, 40 years ago.
Mhm.
This is
30
interesting.
It is an interesting dynamic. Because we've only been married 40 years. We lived at least a year before we went there. So
39 years.
39, 38. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting dynamic.
Isn't that an
right?
interesting thing? Yes. That and people went there to quiet their minds, but meditators have the busiest minds because what you resist persists and grows stronger.
Well, here's the other thing. I noticed that Shai and I have a way of relating that shifts and is observable depending on
Who we're interacting
who
with.
we're interacting with. So it's kind of fun to see us get close to
A bicker.
a bicker thing, which is fun.
Okay.
I don't recall when last we did that.
Mm-hmm.
You might find that a familiar behavior between you and your boyfriend.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
However,
It's not
we
bad.
can either try to look good, do better, be different, or notice like, look at this. This is a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you can't be different than you are, so why fight with that? Why try to be?
Well, I was thinking
It
about it.
doesn't make you a bad person to live your life.
But while I was doing the dishes earlier, it occurred to me, I remember, why don't you just live? It ran through my head. And I recall when I had had surgery for my shoulder and I was going to rehab and I did things and I kept going back to the doctor. And there came a point where it still had not progressed to being fully mobile, and it was still quite painful. And we'd hoped that it would have been healed by then. It was like 6 months down the line. And he said to me, why don't you just go live? And it was interesting because it did actually take quite a bit of time for the healing to continue. It took another couple of years before I was fully not aware that I'd had an injury to my shoulder. But living put it in the background. We're trying to get it better all the time.
Kept you working
Kept
on
me
it.
working on it. And
It's something similar to that in our work, which isn't really work. It's just noticing how you're being when you notice how you're being, not noticing how you're being as a way of going through life.
and as a way to get better and improve.
Exactly. It's not about improving because you can't improve. You can only be exactly as you are in the current moment. So if that's the case, maybe you could take a breath and relax and enjoy being where you are.
Yeah, maybe. It's a very good idea.
Thank you for being with us today.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
In regards to your lovely boyfriend, Chris.
Oh, I will. We've already agreed that if we're not even planning any sort of vacation for next year, we're planning to go to Hamburg.
Nice.
Good.
Nice. Look forward to seeing you.
Oh,
So am I.
by the way, it's working.
Great.
Now it's your turn. Let's hear what one of you listeners has to say about being here in the transformation community.
This is Ralf, and I'm in Cologne, Germany. And whenever I listen to a podcast with Aaron and Shaya Kane, I don't know how that happens, but it pulls me into the moment. I fall into the moment when I start listening, no matter what the topic is. I am pulled back and I'm back in my life.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Aaron and Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
Our next Living Made Easy 2-hour virtual seminars are on Monday, February 24th at 7 p.m. That's Eastern Time. And Tuesday, February 25th at 1:30 Eastern Time. That would be 1930
Central European time.
Central European Time. And on Saturday, March 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern.
But this weekend, in just a few days here, we're doing the weekend virtual seminar, Living Life with Passion and Wonder. In April, on the 5th and 6th, we're offering Transformation in the Workplace. And I know that because we're recording this before the end of the year, Christina said she's coming next year to Hamburg, but I know she means this year. The Freedom to Breathe is happening on May 22nd.
And the Superpower of Being You is on May 23rd and 24th.
And 25th. I have
And-
that wrong here on my notes.
23rd, 24th,
For the
and 25th.
So that's the scoop. You're invited to any and all.
Right.
Costa Rica 2026
26.
is now open and filling, and you are invited.
Right.
Let's take our next guest,
Okay.
Miss
Uli.
Uli.
Hi.
Hi, this is Uli speaking, and I'm zooming in from a little outside of Cologne in Germany.
Nice
Excellent.
to see
And
you.
nice to see you too. When I read the title and the description, I had a flashback of how long I know you, and I remembered it's an anniversary, and I took my very first workshop with you in 2004. So it's
Wow.
20 years.
That's
And-
amazing.
How old are your kids now?
18 and 16.
Wow,
My daughter is 18, my son is 16.
sweet.
Yeah. And when I look back and think back how life was back then, it's very difficult to even remember. But I know that ever since then, I've been living my life so much more. Like the title, like maybe you should just live. And so it's just amazing. I just wanted to say how grateful I am for all the time that I've had the chance to be around you.
Look, you put yourself around us, so you get credit for what you've produced in your life. That
Mhm.
made yourself accident prone for transformation to show up. That is brilliant. See, so you get the acknowledgement back because, as far as I'm concerned, lots and lots and lots of people have come and gone, but the ones who've stuck have amazing lives, and the ones who went off and did what they did went off and did what they did. You
And
know,
they may have amazing lives too, but we
they-
don't know.
right. But the thing is this, that you put yourself in a place where transformation could show up. That's on you.
And we're honored.
Yes, and that's your greatness.
Uli, I think a lot of people who listen probably heard you say, wow, you've been around us for 20 years. It's an anniversary. It sounds like you've been doing seminars with the Canes for some time. Why?
If
do
it
you-
works,
Why do you keep coming back? I mean, shouldn't it be enough already?
First of all, it accumulates, so things still transform, get better, get easier. And then it's being around you is like a refresher,
Mhm.
because I tend to get lost in my life. Like it happens, and then I find my way back.
well, you say tend to get lost in your life. You got a lot of people out there believing that what they have in their current life isn't it, and some future something will be it. And you've been retraining yourself to discover that this moment of your life is it. And so you invest in it rather than hope something in the future is going to be better.
I know you're a translator by profession, and there's a German word I really like, Zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
Translate that into English, or explain it to an English speaker.
The zeitgeist would be what is around in general, what is in the air, basically, what is common at a certain point in time, general, present.
What everybody believes to be true.
So
Yes.
if around you, around us in this world, there's a high density in the air, so to speak, of complaint and the idea that something other than what you're experiencing would be better, I'm not sure you get lost as much as you get re-dipped or re-immersed in that zeitgeist or reality. And you my experience is we all come and take a shower and it's like, whew, it's nice to be me again without all that encumbrance.
Yes, that's true. And one thing that I mean, as you asked why I keep coming back, there are also new things or new things that show up.
Mm.
And as you said that, like people get lost in their complaints. I tend to have very negative thoughts. And I was at your Hamburg workshop, and since then it's been much easier because I don't get lost in these thoughts anymore. I just let them go by and say, hey, there's this thought again. And that makes it much easier. And yet it feels it's lingering in the back, always
Well,
ready to
here's
jump
the
at me.
thing. Uli,
Hmm?
it is in the zeitgeist of the environment you're working in and living in. Of course, it's going to come back.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be your thoughts, but that's the thoughts of the world around you.
It's like a tuning fork. If you have a tuning fork, it will resonate that
Vibration.
frequency or vibration in another tuning fork. So if you're in a room full of people who are feeling really stirred up, chances are you will experience that as well.
Mm. Yeah, I love when I heard you say that before, and I love hearing it again because I sometimes find it hard to believe it's not me. So I love when you say that it's
Well, if you're angry, it doesn't matter what stimulates it. If you strike out, you verbally are short with your husband or your kids, that's you doing it, even if it's been inspired by something outside.
Mhm. Yeah.
So both can be true. It's not the pathway for irresponsibility. However, it is the pathway for, in my experience, extricating myself from that dynamic. Like you just saw us do it earlier, where we're like, oh, look at this. We're on the verge of bickering.
Mhm. Yeah. I see that.
Sorry about that.
No, you're the best. Mm.
Ah,
Well, Whoa, okay. One of the machines in our office
Just started up all on
talking.
its own. Yeah.
See, we are affected by the environment we're in.
Mhm.
We can either,
Okay, then.
all right, we can either be at the effect of that, or we can notice it without judging it, and it loses its power over us. And that's transformation. You can try to fix or change yourself, but chances are what you're going to do is stay exactly the same, because when you resist something, you take on its shape and form.
I just
Yeah.
had a flashback of you, Uli. I remember there was a period of time, a long time ago, where you were walking your children or driving your children to a bus stop, and there were other parents there, and you had a conversation with us. You were so desperately wanting to fit in or be liked or not look like the weird mom. Or so when you say things arise, when you first got together with us, it was a couple years before ever having kids, so you couldn't imagine what would get triggered while being in the zeitgeist of the other parents standing and waiting for a school bus. And
Yeah.
I love that, because I think, or my experience of you is, if you were to suddenly have children that you needed to bring to a bus stop, whether they're yours or your grandkids or however it would shake out at this point, I'd be really shocked if you had the same struggles as you had back then.
Yeah.
You're much more secure in yourself, you see.
Yes, I am. I am. Yes.
And you've allowed yourself to experience your life as it's been showing up. And that allows things to complete themselves. So those thoughts that used to be so devastatingly strong in the way you reacted to them, they are just thoughts now. You can notice them and let them go by. But at one time, when you had a thought that you disagreed with, that thought ran your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, and it generated body sensations, and facial. You know how when you used to think you were wronged, I'm not only speaking to Uli, I'm speaking to people in general. When it was so real, and you know, you get tight and emotional, and you got to fight for your perspective. Man, there's a whole other possibility where you don't
You
lose
mean
anything.
maybe you can just live your life and let life go on? You know, I have this thing. I realize that this is a very, very, very tiny planet in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Compared in size to our sun, it's very, very small. Compared in size to the universe, it's infinitesimally small. And we reside on this infinitesimally small piece of matter in a huge universe. And we think we're so important. And we think we could do something about the nature of life rather than just live. See, it's your birthright to live. It's your socialization that keeps you trying to live the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a series of rules of right and wrong, good and bad, and we all are stuck trying to fit into that rather than just enjoy being here in this moment. Because this is it.
Mm. Yeah.
And you know something, Lily? Not only have we known you for about 20 years, but you're younger now than you were then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I do believe that.
Well, it's true.
Well, you know, when you
You-
say you're more secure now, I get it. And that's not the natural progression of a lot of people. If you're insecure and trying to hide it, you get better at hiding it. And then
Right.
those insecurities follow you everywhere until you have some sort of circumstance that causes a break in the crust of our
Barriers that we put
barriers
up.
and shields we put up in front of us. And then out comes the outpouring of insecurity. But we usually, if you're in that that framework, look around and blame it on the circumstance for causing, rather than recognize, oh, look, I walk around, I've got this insecurity. And as you see it and it goes, you just go live your life. And then it's so amazing when the same type of circumstances happen again, and it's a nothing burger.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here
Yeah,
with us today. Whew,
absolutely.
That's the name of the show.
Being here?
Being here, yeah.
Yes.
Nice having you here with us, Uli.
Nice seeing you.
You know, you can subscribe to the podcast. You could share it with your friends. You could subscribe to our newsletter if you haven't already. You can find all our courses and register. You know, we've had a whole range of people coming recently who have read our books or listened to our books or listened to the podcast and said, I'm so tired of working on myself. And they've jumped in and signed up for weekends. Not only, or even primarily weekends, they're just saying, I'm doing this thing. If that's you, you're welcome, you're invited. You can find everything we're doing on transformationmadeeasy.com. You ready for next week's episode? It's a good one.
Need sleep?
We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being here.
yeah, what he said.